Hello and welcome to the Polkadot Web Wallet tutorial of 2021, and this is the latest version of the Polkadot Web Wallet, version 28, as you can see here on the top left hand corner of the screen. And in today's video I'm going to do everything from scratch, as if you're brand new, as if you've never seen this wallet before, and as if you're setting it up from the beginning on your browser. Again, I do actually use this on Google Chrome, but for the purpose of this video and for the purpose of starting everything from scratch without having to delete my own stuff, I'm going to do this in Mozilla Firefox. So as we can see here, I've downloaded the Mozilla Firefox web browser. So basically I'm here on this website, which is polkadot.js.org/apps. Again, the link will be found in the description of this video, and I'm going to show you how to set it up, how to get the extension set up as well, because you do need the browser extension, be it for Mozilla, be it for Google Chrome. It depends which browser you're using. It does support both of these browsers. So again, that's why I'm doing this for Mozilla as a separate browser to have a brand new installation. And I'm also going to be in the live chat, by the way, so if you have any questions, please fire them away in the live chat. Hence why I'm doing this as a premiere, to try and help you live while you're watching this. And if you're watching this later on, again, leave a comment below asking me any questions you may have. But what's the first thing you do? Well, you first need to go to this website here, which is the Web Wallet official website from Polkadot. You can only use this on your laptop or desktop, or I think on the tablet too. Now, the next thing you need is you need to download the Polkadot JS extension for the browser. So this is like a browser add-on, as you can see here, for Firefox, and again, the same for Google Chrome. Again, the link will be found in the description. So you need to make sure you go and download this extension first, have this extension on your browser, and then go to the Polkadot Web Wallet, which we can see here. And again, once you have the extension added or installed onto your browser, you should see an icon here on the top right hand side of the screen for Polkadot JS. So you just simply click on that icon, and then we need to add a brand new account because we don't have an account. Okay, so let's click on this to generate the account. It is a little bit slow. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now one other thing that I want to make sure that I get into your mind here is you need to make sure that you're writing this down on a piece of paper and you're storing it somewhere safe. Don't take a screenshot of this. Don't store this on your computer, because if you get any malware, anything on your computer, a bad actor can actually steal your mnemonic seed, and then they can get access to your account without knowing your password, without needing to know your password. So that's pretty bad, and many people have lost their crypto this way. So just be careful with that. Okay, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to copy this to clipboard because we're going to need to use this. And as you can see here, the account doesn't have a name yet, so we're going to need to give it a name. Now, as you can see here, I need to actually save it. So of course, once I save it, I need to confirm that I saved it, and then I go to the next step. Now you need to give a name for your account, and again, this is going to be used on any chain if you so wish to do so. For example, when you click on this drop down, it does tell you that you can only use this for a specific chain, right? Maybe only on the Polkadot Relay chain, maybe only on the Kusama one, maybe only on Kulupu, Edgeware, and so on. So you have different options here. Chainx is not here, which is a bit surprising. I would have expected it, but maybe because they're using a DApp. And again, it's going to be the same with Akala. So again, let's just say we're going to use this on any chain, which will also include Chainx and Akala network, for example. So let's give it a name. For the purpose of this, it's just going to be test account. We need to give it a password. Okay, now we need to add the account with the generated seed. And there you go. You can see that we've generated a public address and we've got a test account. And again, just one thing to keep in mind here is that this public address does not mean this is your Polkadot public address. Okay, so you just got to be careful. You got to make sure that you're on the right live network where you'll be able to get the public address. And we're going to talk about that in a moment, so don't worry about that. Okay, now that we've got the account here, that's all good. So now we can close out of this. If we go back to the extension, we can see the account is still here. Now you may be asking yourself, how can I come out of the session? Well, if you do that, you actually need to delete the account, because there is no way to come out of this session. You're always going to be logged in, right? You're always going to be logged in, but you will need the password to perform any kind of transaction on this account. So that's the beauty of the Polkadot JS browser extension. that no action, no transaction can be done, no funds can leave your account without your password. Again, to be on the safe side, if you don't plan to use this account for a long time, maybe you just want to send dot here, store it, and then forget it, you can just delete it. You can just click on forget account, and that'll do it then for you. But for the purpose of this, of course, we need to have it. So what do we do here? Well, we need to refresh this page to see if this actually shows up, right? So let's go back to, let's refresh this page and see if that account is linking. And there we go, right? So here we go. We can see that the test account is here. It is an injected type, which means that it can be used on any chain. And we've got an exclamation mark here. And I know somebody has asked me in a comment from one of the videos regarding this exclamation mark. Well, basically, this is just referring to the fact, it's a warning, and it's referring to the fact that you should not, for security reasons, you should not use the same account for all the different chains on the Polkadot ecosystem, but instead have a different account for different chains. But most people will probably use the same one for different chains, just because it's much easier to handle, especially if you're transacting very often, right? So this is the only reason why you're getting this this error here, or this warning, I should say. Now, once you have an account, let's say you want to actually get some dot onto your account, you may be asking yourself, well, how can I do that? Now, in order to copy your public address to be able to send from the exchange over to your account, let's say you've got dot on Binance, for example, or maybe on MXC or on any other exchange. All you have to do is go to this bubble here, you click on it, and as you can see on the top right hand side, it says that it's copied the public address to your keyboard. So you go to Notepad, for example, you save this address, and now this is the public address for your dot account or for your dot coins under the Polkadot Live network. Again, like I said, every other live network has a different public address. So if you want to send dot, you need to copy this public address and you need to paste it in the withdrawal section of the specific exchange. And again, I have done different tutorials on different exchanges, on Binance, on Bitbox, on BitMax, on MXC. So do check those out if you're interested to learn more about how to use a cryptocurrency exchange. But in theory, this is all you have to do. It's very straightforward. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, if I have dot and I want to send it out, how do I do that? Well, it's a little bit more tricky for that, right? Because you need to go to send, which seems pretty straightforward. However, you can't just enter an address here and just wait until and just send it out, right? It's not going to work. It's going to say no results found, right? As you can see, it's expecting an actual account. So how do you do that? Well, we need to go to the account section. Then you need to go to address book. And here we need to click on add account. We need to give it a name. So let's say, for example, you want to send to Binance. So you choose Binance. You copy the deposit address for your dot from Binance. You paste it in here and then you click save. Now, once you do that, then that's pretty much it. You click, after you click save, it'll actually show up here in the contact section. So then what you can actually do is if you go back to accounts and then you go to send, you'll actually be able to see that address show up in the drop down with the name that you've given it, which would be Binance. You choose the amount that you want to send and then you click make transfer. Now, one other thing you got to keep in mind here is you got to make sure that the transfer with account keep live checks is on, right? If you don't have this on, then it's possible that maybe your account could be deleted, right? This is in order for them to save storage and so on. Again, one other thing you got to keep in mind here is that you need to have at least one dot in your account as existential deposit to keep your account alive. This is a requirement. You may be thinking, well, that's a bit too expensive because we're talking 30 bucks stuck here in this account to keep it alive. And that's true, right? But it is what it is. I'm not sure if they're planning to drop this existential deposit eventually, just because as the price of dot goes up, you know, it's not going to be worth it for people to just have their dots stuck there if it's going to be worth, like, say, 100 bucks, right? But anyway, let's cancel out of this. So that's how you send. Okay, now the next thing you may want to know here is, for example, in the, let me go here, in the network section. In the network section, we've got the Explorer. So if we go to the Explorer, here we can see all the different blocks that are currently running, which block we're on. how long it takes until the next block. So here we can see that the finalized blocks, the epoch, and so on, how many hours left for that, all the different validators that are validating transactions, and all the blocks that are being validated, and so on. Now, you may not really need to know all this information here, but it's just helpful to know that you can find that information there. There's also more details on the blocks here, information on the node and the forks, and so on. Now, with regards to the staking feature, this is the one that may be of interest to you. And of course, if you want to stake, you'll need to know how to use this. And I've actually done a dedicated video on how to stake, so I'm not going to focus on that in this specific video. But I just want to reiterate here that I've heard of many people, and actually some of them have sent me private messages saying that they've accidentally sent their DOT to a validator by transferring it. So again, please don't make that mistake. You need to make sure that you're using this feature here. Even though you're actually copying a validator's address, you always need to make sure that you're using the feature within the staking here. So yeah, just make sure you don't make that mistake. You go to account actions just to keep it simple, and you'll be a nominator. So you need to click on nominator. And again, I have covered this in a dedicated video, and you just got to make sure that you've got the two accounts here. So you've got your stash account and your controller account. Your controller account is your account which is for the transaction fees, okay, and the stash account is your main account where you hold your DOT, the one that you don't want to stake. And then when you actually claim any staking rewards, then they're also going to go to the stash account if you choose to do so. But of course, you can change it to be paid on the controller account, but by default it is the stash account, which is your main account. Again, if you do decide to stake to a node, just keep in mind that it does take 28 days before you can unbound the DOT. So if you're looking to sell your DOT quickly, just forget about that, right? 28 days is the wait time. And again, now with the Parachain auctions coming up, maybe you're not interested to stake. Maybe you want to take part in these Parachain auctions to vote. So then in that case, you cannot stake. You need to have your DOT available. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now, of course, there's the validator option here if you want to set up a node yourself. There's documentation on that on the Polkadot official website on the wiki, so check that out, and also the same for stash here. The payout section is going to be the area that you're going to need to go to when you do stake. But again, like I said, I'm not going to dedicate this video purely on staking because I've already done a dedicated video on that, so it doesn't make much sense to cover that. Again, the event calendar here is basically all the upcoming events that they've got. As you can see here, on the 1st of March, they've got an event here, which is the start of a new staking session and start of a new staking era, and so on. Now, the governance area is the important one here, because this is where you can use, this is how you can vote using your DOT, right? This is like the power is in the hands of the people pretty much. Right? So how does this actually work? Well, there are proposals and referendums. Now, the referendums usually come from the council, and this is, of course, the people, it's like the core team, like Gavin Wood and all the different council members from Polkadot. So they may have an idea, and then they'll submit a referendum, and then the community can vote. Right? Anybody can vote, even they can vote, right? So that gives them a bit more power than the rest of us, if you think about it. As you can see here, for this referendum, which was active for 30 days, it's got 2 days and 22 hours remaining in order to change the validator count and to set an ideal number of validators. As you can see here, the new one is going to be 599, so that's just to increase the number of validators. And as you can see here, a lot of people, 72 people are in favor and 53 are against it. And as you can see here, the ones that are against it have voted a lot of DOT. Like this is like 3.1 million DOT. And the ones that are in favor have voted with 127,652. So it could be that the yes might win just because of the percentage, the turnout here. As you can see, the turnout is 23.68% for I. But again, because of this huge difference here, what normally happens is it goes by the value, but also by the total, as in the actual supply. So if the turnout is very big, like say if a lot of people that hold DOT have voted, even though the no side is larger in the sense of the actual DOT that's being voted, then it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win. But in this case, because the I is only 23.6%, and as you can see here, a lot more has been voted against that. As you can see here, that's a lot of DOT here. Look at this, 350,000, 600,000, and this is a 2x. So that's a huge lockup as well. So yeah, I mean, anything like that is is crazy, right? So again, if you want to vote, you can do so. If you have DOT, you simply go to vote. You choose the account that you want to vote with, you choose the amount of DOT you want to vote with, and again, the beauty of voting and governance is that even though you're staking, you can still vote with your staked DOT. So that's great, right? It doesn't mean that you're locked up from doing anything in the community. No, it's very much against that, right? They basically want you to have the freedom to vote, so that's great. Now you can see here that we've got different options to vote for. So if you want to vote for a referendum, if you don't want to have any lockup for your DOT, and again, if this is in staking, you're going to be locked up anyway for 28 days, right? But if it's not in staking, what this actually means with 0.1x voting power is that, say for example, you're using 10 DOT to vote, with 0.1x voting power, you're actually only voting with 1 DOT, okay? Because you're voting with 10 times less, but there's no lockup period. So when they say there's no lockup period, there actually is a lockup period, but only for the duration of the referendum. When the referendum is over, when it expires and the end result is out, then your DOT is unlocked again. But until then, it stays in a reserved state. So you can't actually transfer it out because you've used it to vote, right? It makes sense. But it's not locked up outside of the referendum. Now, if you do decide to go with 1x voting, it is locked for 28 days, and then 2x voting 56 days, and so on. So the 2x voting obviously means 2 times the amount of DOT that you're willing to vote with. If you have 10 DOT, it would count as 20 DOT in the votes here when we look at the drop down. And of course, the maximum that we can do here is 6x voting power with 896 days lockup, which is a large amount of time, right? Who's going to be doing that? Unless they want to do really short amounts and they're really pushing to get this referendum going their way. Now let's cancel that. And now the proposals. So again, with the proposals, it's pretty much the same. Maybe a slight difference here, because you can see you can actually second here. So for example, if you want to second, the proposal is in the queue for future referendums. One proposal from the list will move forward to voting. Seconding a proposal that indicates your backing for the proposal, and proposals with greater interest moves up the queue for potential next referendums. The deposit will be locked for the lifetime of the proposal. So that's just something to keep in mind here. You need to lock up 100 DOT if you want to second this proposal. As you can see, 4 people have seconded this, which is basically to make a change to the system. It's add a registrar to the system. So again, these are all code changes. Okay, it's usually the team or the validators that are seconding these. So that's just something to keep in mind here. This one, for example, has 40 secondments. So a lot of people have seconded this one. And if you want to second it again, you need 100 DOT, which is a lot of money if you think about it, right? Now, we've got the council here, which is another section. Again, this hasn't changed very much from the last video that I done. The very first version is pretty much the same. As you can see here, we've got all the different council members here. They're also validators, a lot of these, okay? You can see Gavin is here. This is his address. And let's go back here. Now the Treasury. The Treasury is a group of people who are part of, they could be validators, but they usually have to be voted within the community. They had to have contributed in some way in order to receive the voting to stay in the Treasury. And then once you're in the Treasury, you got some special privileges, right? Not only can you contribute to the community, but anyway you can contribute, but you also have a special privilege in the voting, right? So for example, in the tips section, there are people here that are basically growing, right? So what are they doing? They're trying to spread the word about the ecosystem in general. And this is not only applicable to Polkadot, but to pretty much anything, right? So basically what you this actually caught my attention here, because I saw this and I was like, what the heck is this? Cryptos chain has a growing following on YouTube for Polkadot and chains, helpful to community on all social media. So somebody, okay, I think somebody is trying to get a tip using my name here. I'm not sure why they're trying to do that, but anyway, it's interesting. And yeah, I mean, basically, if you're if you've created a Telegram group in a specific language, or if you wrote an article about Polkadot, or if you participated at some event, some workshop to spread the word about Polkadot, and you need to copy the link with the proof that you've got and paste it here when you propose a tip. And then what happens is the validators, not the validators, but the Treasury, it could be the validators that were voted for the Treasury, and even the council themselves, they can vote for you. Now, when 10 different votes are submitted for tipping you. And again, these are fictional tips, so they're not real tips. It's not like that the validators are actually tipping you. They're not. They're just paying a fictional amount of what they think you should deserve for this contribution. So for example, let's take a look at this one here. So for example, we can see here that these 4 validators from the Treasury and some of them from the council have tipped this person 3 dot because they believe that they deserve 3 dot, but this 3 dot is not actually leaving their account, right? This is just like them saying, okay, we think you deserve this much. But then what happens is when all 10 of these, when 10 people have voted, 10 people from the Treasury, of course, then the timer gets triggered and then that goes to the council for final approval. The council then clicks approve and the tip goes through, and it goes from the funding of the Treasury and you receive the money in your balance. And again, it's not all of these, it's just the median. So as you can see here, because everybody voted 3, your median tip is going to be 3. If the rest of the people, if 6 more tippers are going to vote for 3 dot as well, then this person is going to get 3 dot from the council straight into their account. And again, this is from the Treasury funding. So that's an interesting idea, to be honest, because there are a lot of people out there that are trying to contribute open source and they just don't get any funding. So the fact that we got this Treasury fund is great, right? It helps. There's of course the bounties here as well. If people have some great idea and you know, they can solve a puzzle or solve a bug or whatever, then of course they can take part in this area here, which is the bounties. And this is the value of the bounty. As you can see, it is quite high, 2,445 dot. That is a lot, right? And this bounty has received approval and is currently being implemented. So the bounty name is Polkadot brand update immersion phase. There's the TechCom here, which there's no point of going through. There's the developer section as well. And this is again the chain state, the extrinsics, and so on. You are not going to need to touch this at all, to be honest. I know I've only had to touch this one time, but not for the Polkadot one, but for Chainx when they had some problems with the wallet. Because basically what you do here is you can use your account, and then, you know, like when you stake, for example, you can actually stake using this method as a developer or as a user. So for example, if you want to click staking and then choose the person that you want to stake with, right? And again, I don't recommend you do it this way. And then you choose the controller account, and then you choose the value that you want to stake with. You can do so this way, or if you want to claim, for example, I think you can claim here as well. I'm not sure. Let me see if you can claim here. No, there's no claim button here. Well, for Chainx there is a claim button, but for this it looks like there isn't. But anyway, I don't recommend you play around with this just because there are different features here on different live networks. So you could end up losing your dot if you make a mistake here, if you don't know what you're doing, unless somebody in a Telegram group, like in an official Telegram group of a project, tells you to specifically go here. And I'm talking about like an admin pinning a comment saying that, guys, if you want to be able to stake or if you want to be able to claim your interest, go through this option, because I had to do this before for Chainx. But other than that, no. Then there's the settings option here. If you want to go to settings, again, you can you're on the default node by default, so you don't need to change this. You can choose the theme if you want to have the light theme or the dark theme. You can choose the language. There are various languages supported here, as we can see: English, Spanish, French, Arabic, and so on. So that's quite interesting. But now to move on to the next step here, and this is of course to talk about the live networks, because this is one thing that I haven't really covered when I was looking at the when I was doing the initial tutorial. So what you should do here in the live networks is you should change to different live networks if you want to control your wallet for other live networks. So for example, let's say you hold some Kusama and you want to be able to have access to your wallet on Kusama. So what you do, you switch the live network, you go to accounts, and then you can see the test account again, which is an injected type, which can be used across the board, is here, right? So what do? You can just copy the address, the public address, to be able to say receive Kusama to your account. As you can see, it says here balance is in KSM, right? So as you can see here, let me move out of this. This is your Kusama public address, which is different, as you can see, from the public address that we had for Polkadot, right? And then if you do exactly the same here for Chainx, let's switch to Chainx. As you give it a moment. Just initializing the connection. Okay, so exactly the same for Chainx. You copy the address. It's called PCX, right? That's the name of the token. You paste it, you do the same. You see the public address is different. So make sure you don't make this mistake and you're definitely in the correct live network, because new people can make this mistake, right? And you just got to be careful with that, right? And again, if you get this kind of warning, like you have one extension that needs to be updated, you can see here that it shows you the 1 next to these settings. So basically you need to go to settings and you need to actually go to metadata where it shows you the 1, and you need to upgrade it because you haven't upgraded the metadata. So you just go to update metadata, and then that's going to update it for you just to be on the latest version of this specific live network, okay? Because they have made an update. Again, if you go to Darwinia, exactly the same. So again, any node you switch to here, any live network you switch to is going to generate a separate public address for you, okay? And as you can see here, ring is the token name. Now what's interesting here, aside from live networks, we've also got test relays and parachains. So Rokoku is the name of the parachain. There's also the so-called Rokoku testnet, which is basically any network that wants to become a parachain has to first go to Rokoku testnet, and then once they're ready, once they've done their testing and they're ready to take part in the parachain auctions, then they can go to Rokoku. Okay, and they'll go to Rokoku only if they win the parachain, only if they bond successfully in the parachain auction, depending on how many people vote for them, right? So again, I don't want to go into too much detail about parachains and parachain auctions because I've done various videos on those. So do check them out if you're interested to learn more, but this is just to kind of help you understand what this area is for the parachains here. And then of course there are the test networks, and these are of course all the different platforms that are building at the moment on Substrate and will eventually become live networks. Now not necessarily all of these will become parachains, some will, like you can see Moonbase here from Moonbeam probably, and other projects here. But the idea here is that a lot of these are not going to become parachains, but they're simply going to be a live network where you can it's integrated into Polkadot JS, and you can just send the tokens over to this address. And again, just to reiterate here, parachains are kind of like side chains. You could think of Polkadot and Kusama as the relay chains. Polkadot is the main relay chain, the parent. Kusama is the wild cousin because all the experiments are taking place there. And then we've got other networks which want to become parachains on Polkadot and some of them on Kusama. Okay, and the parachains are like side chains. And then there's the development section here. If you're interested in the development section, again, we don't have any information here, but if you want to develop, you can set up a local node and then you can do that. But there isn't anything else to cover here. Like I said, I think I've covered pretty much everything here. Maybe just one other thing that we could talk about here, and that is if you decide to, for example, add a new account or to import an account. So let's say, for example, you wanted to import an account, you could do so. You just click on import account from pre-existing seed here. And if you do that, you need to have your 12-word or 24-word mnemonic seed. You enter that, you click next. Again, you can use it on any chain. It depends how you had it set up. You click next and then it will be imported, and it's going to show up at the bottom as the second account here. So it's very, very simple to manage once you get a head around it. It just seems a bit complex at the beginning, but yeah, this is pretty much it. And again, exactly the same if you want to use the JSON file, but again, I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you use the mnemonic seed phrase because it's simpler to manage. So that's it from today's very long tutorial. I hope you found this informative. Just a kind reminder to check the timeline if you're only interested in specific areas of this video. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.